Peace,
Hi,
Queen. How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you? And thanks for having me.
All is well. All is well. Thank you for coming on the platform. It's definitely an honor, and I appreciate your patience.
Oh, no problem. Let me turn off Alexa. Alexa, stop. And let me make sure I'm saying your name properly. Is it Taye Uhuru?
Yeah. Yep. You said it just right. Taye,
Taye
like a tie, like you
Uhuru.
tie your shoe.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Thank. Okay. So Taye, it's a word that's used throughout Africa, like in West Africa, like in Nigeria. I think it means like if you a twin, it's like the first one seen, you the firstborn. But I got it from Ethiopia and Amharic, the language they
Mm,
speak. It means
yeah.
to see something, to have a vision. And
Wow.
then Uhuru, that's like Swahili. They speak that
Yeah.
like in Kenya and
Yeah.
Tanzania, and it
Yeah.
means freedom. So my
Freedom.
name
I was
means
going to
he
say
who has
freedom.
seen freedom.
Yeah. I've been
Yeah.
to Ethiopia. I was in Ethiopia probably 2 years ago. Um,
Wow.
and I just found out today I did a one of those tests to find out where you come from. And I am 48% West African. 48% West African, mainly in Nigeria and Senegal and Ghana is what I found out. And then a little percentage is from Kenya. It's very interesting. And the rest
Yeah,
is
yeah,
like
definitely.
Ireland. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Cause I know like I had like a high Nigerian ancestry. Then I looked
yeah.
into it. I got another test and it was common ancestry with the Yoruba
I have a
have one of
common
the
ancestry
highest.
with the Yoruba too.
Hmm.
That is the highest number for African Americans. That was like a slave port as well. So in Ghana.
Yeah, so they had them all around, but I guess Nigeria, a lot of them came to America. But I know the Yoruba people, they supposed to have like the highest or one of the highest percentages of like twin birth rates. So I know my grandmother, she had like two sets of twins, and she had brothers and sisters that was twins. We got triplets in our family. So I don't know if it's directly connected to that,
Wow.
but it's very interesting to take the time out to, look into it.
What I do know for sure is that I got here in America via an ancestor was on the slave ship. I that's what I know for sure.
Yeah.
I survived. I'm standing here today because my ancestors endured, and that's why I'm here today. Somebody survived.
Exactly. Right. A lot of people take that for granted. I appreciate you, dropping that knowledge. Now I gotta ask you, okay, now for the
Please.
viewers who may not recognize you, let them know who you are and definitely where you from.
Wow. I am Tori Alamaze. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States. I am an artist, or some would call a multi potentialite, which means I have multiple skill sets, talents, and disciplines. I am an artist, which means some ways I express my gifts are through writing books, writing music. I also help and guide moms as an accountability coach. I keep them accountable to their yes. What else do I do? I feel like I do a lot, and I'm always going to miss something. Um, I think that's it. I feel like I'm missing something. I'm also a mother and a wife. I have a beautiful 9-year-old daughter. She's almost 10. Her name is Aset. It means she of the throne, mother of God, creator of all things. And she is amazing. And I've been married for 11 years now, happily married. And I go on yoga retreats around the world. I've been to Senegal, Mauritius, um, Italy, Ethiopia, Israel. I feel like I'm missing something again, but yeah, I love international yoga retreats. Yeah.
Wow, that's real cool. I never been on a yoga retreat, but I've done some traveling myself. Now, what has that done for you? Going to different countries. How important has that been in your life?
So the first half of my career, I was a professional makeup artist, and that was the beginning of me touring the world. I mean, everywhere. And then the second half, I sang background for groups like OutKast, the Grammy winning album Speaker Box Love Below. I toured with them all over the world. So I've had many, many opportunities in my career to travel for work, really. And it's taken me all over the world. And so traveling just expands you. It just, you're able to easily attract people and communicate with people and accept people and their differences. Over time, I've learned different languages, how to say hi and thank you in at least 12, 13 different languages. I'm able to teach my daughter the same. For example, I can go into a Korean uh, beauty supply store, Korean tailoring, and say hello to them in their language and thank you in their language, and I get treated accordingly. I think it's just kind of a door opener when you can, when people see that you see them and you pronounce their names properly, and you see them, especially if they're immigrants in America and they might feel some kind of way. You know, they might feel their name is difficult. I was at the printer office yesterday, and there was a Korean lady who works there, so I greeted her, "안녕하세요," and she stopped and looked at me, and then when she finished, I said, "감사합니다," and she said, "How do you know to speak Korean?" And then she had a name tag. It said Sue, and she said, "My real name is Hyung Soo." So I said, "Well, I'm going to call you Hung Soo because I know you did Sue to make it easier for us Americans." She said, "I did, because nobody can ever say Hung Soo." So from this moment forward, when I see her again, I'm going to call her by her name that her parents gifted her and honor her as a human being. And I enjoy doing that. Thank
Wow, that's amazing. That's dope. That's really amazing. Now I gotta ask you now, when did you develop a passion for music? Is it something that you've been doing your whole life, or was it a certain point where you just kind of got into it?
I knew I could sing kind of when I was little. I always had this raspy voice, like a deep voice for a girl. So I used to sing songs like Anita Baker. I could never really get Whitney Houston high, so I would get an octave lower. I would do an octave lower. Phyllis Hyman, Layla Hathaway, Anita Baker. Those were more like my registers, right? So I didn't really think I could sing because I don't know what I was thinking, but when I was a kid, I was singing all the time and in the choir. My dad took me to the studio and I recorded. But it wasn't until I started to work with artists and travel the world, and I started to see what happens behind the scenes with artists, and I would be with them behind the scenes in the studios, on tours. Um, and so I was like, maybe early 20s, I was just like, I can sing and I can write music. And so it really was just something I stumbled into. It wasn't complicated. It was just, let me go and find my voice and figure this out. And I would demo a couple of things, but it wasn't until I started working with CeeLo Green is when I really, really got better with finding my style and my voice. Because I don't really think I sound like a lot of people. Oddly enough, it's weird, but I've had kids tell me certain records I sound like Beyonce. I've never vocally compared myself to her, but I've had through some of my records, some people say, "You sound like Beyonce." So it's very interesting.
Wow, that's a major compliment. I take my hat off to you because people, they dream of traveling the world, but to travel the world and do what you love, I mean, that's like the ultimate blessing. That's truly inspiring.
I agree.
Now I can ask you. Let me see. Oh, you mentioned OutKast. You mentioned the Speaker Box and the Love Below. That's like one of hip hop's biggest selling albums ever. You know what I'm saying? How did
Absolutely.
you even connect with them? Were you just a part of the live presentation, or were you on the album as well? When did you meet them?
Um, I met them doing their music videos as a makeup artist, as a professional makeup artist. So I would do their music videos, I would do their album covers. And it wasn't until they did the Speaker Box Love Below that I got a call first to sing background on it from Big Boy. So I sang a couple of background vocals on the project that won a Grammy for Best Album of the Year. And then I got asked by Andre 3000 to tour with him on the Love Below tour, um, all over the world. We went everywhere in the world. So I toured with him as a background vocalist and dancer. You can easily find me. You can go to YouTube anywhere and put in Hey Ya and live performance, and I'm one of those girls in the background dancing and singing Hey Ya. All the awards we did, it was a blast. It was a wonderful season of my life to be a part of such greatness and witnessing, being around OutKast. They're just wonderful. They're funny and gifted and all the things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some people will argue that they are the greatest hip hop group ever,
I
and for
think
you
I
to
would
be a part
agree.
of their biggest album,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
So
think I would
you
agree.
definitely
Yeah,
right,
thank
right. You
you.
definitely made some history because, like you say, you're a part of the live performance. You're doing background vocals, and then you said you did some makeup for some of the albums.
I did the makeup for not just the albums, a lot of their music videos. A lot of their music
Oh
videos,
wow,
a lot of their several of their album covers, the classic album covers. Yeah, you can easily find my name. It'll be Tori Johnson. As a makeup artist, it will be Tori Johnson. It wasn't Tori Alamaze. Tori Alamaze evolved as an artist.
wow, wow. That's major. So that's what I'm saying. You was a part of that whole movement through and through. And of course, they still making music, but obviously the fans really, really appreciate the old stuff, and that goes for a lot of other artists as well. That's
Absolutely.
amazing. Then you say they won a Grammy,
I
so
was
that
there. I
you
performed that night
contributed
with
to
them.
that,
Yeah.
right? That's dope. That is so dope. Now let me see. Now how did you get into the makeup? Was that something you always loved to do? Did you go to school for that? How did you go
Let me say
to
this.
end up
Let-
doing makeup for Outkast?
Well, not just Outcast, for everybody, for lots of people. I'm gonna say this: like, my curiosity has always been a win for me. Um, and I always encourage people to start unsure and start scared. Do your research, figure out the things, but don't wait until you think you're perfect before you actually begin something. So when I started being a makeup artist, it was just pure curiosity. I was fortunate that a professional makeup artist took me up under her wing. Because of my personality, I was able to meet music industry executives here in Atlanta, connect with them, and work with legendary talent beginning here in Atlanta. And that led to tours and things like that. But my initiative, my personality, my curiosity, and my ability to be very observant is how I was able to get into those doors, into those rooms.
Wow, okay, that's real cool. That's some great advice, man. Most definitely. Now I can ask you, it seems like big shout out to ATL. They running the music game, but it was a time when they was like trying to break through, and it seems like you was there. How has it changed? And what was that experience like to see it go from, maybe like a LaFace and Outkast, and JD, the earlier artists to what it has
So
become
Def.
now? Hmm.
You said, how has it changed? I mean, of course it's changed as the industry has changed. You have artists that's involved in politics. You have artists that are professors that's teaching music. You have artists that have expanded their brand, beyond creating music. Um, and then you have artists that realize that I think what you do early on, like the brand that you put in place, the image that you put in place over a 10-year, 20-year span of time, like, it really makes a difference. It's important to be in your 20s and be very intentional and be very aware of what you want to put out into the world. Is it long standing? Will it stand the test of time? Things like that. Um, but it was fortunate for me to be a part of, the music scene in Atlanta in the 90s, when it was just the mid late 90s when it was just booming. LaFace, So Def, all of these labels, and everybody knows each other. Like I could be at Usher's house working with Usher doing his makeup for People magazine and have a meal and some champagne with his mother and go get my nails done with Usher after. Like it just wasn't a big deal. It's just OutKast would come at our house and hang out. I would go to the movies with Big Boy. Like it just wasn't a big deal.
Wow. Okay.
Just
Okay. I mean, because some people, they dream of, like, say you mentioned Usher, a person, a dream of me just meeting them for 2 seconds. Like, oh, I took a picture with him. But like you say, you have like intimate moments with people where
yeah,
y'all
I
just
don't.
laugh and joke
It
and
taught me early on because I got in the industry very young. Like probably 20, 21. I don't I don't fan out with people. Um yeah, they're just normal people, gifted people. Um I don't fan out. I'm so used to it. So it doesn't yeah, to the average person, I guess they would be excited, but for me it was like, for example, I went to Usher's concert and we were guests, and we went backstage, of course, but I didn't take a picture with Usher. Um, Not for any particular reason, but it's just I know him, I see him, I'll see him again. You know what I'm saying? It just wasn't. I don't, a lot of people are like, let me take a picture. I just didn't. I didn't think about it. Yeah.
right, right. I feel what you're saying. Now let me see. I was checking out your profile. Now you got a chance to work with TLC. I wanted to ask you about that. Did you
No,
have any
not
interactions with?
particularly. No.
Oh, okay, okay,
No, I've never worked with TLC. And it's
okay,
weird
okay.
because we all live in Atlanta, and I don't know why that's in the. I didn't put that in the bio, whatever you
Right,
found it, but I have never
right,
worked with
Wiki.
TLC. I've seen them in parties, but we've never worked
Mm-hmm.
together. I think at the time I came in, they were very happy with their glam team when I got into the industry.
Okay, okay. Well, that's cool. Okay, now I wanted to ask you about this. It's a post on your page. It says, hold on, wait, let me get it right. Now Billboard did a 100 greatest songs bridges of the 21. Can you speak about that?
They picked "Don't You" as one of the 100 greatest bridges of all time of this century, and that's phenomenal. Like to be a part of that hook, that bridge actually. I know I'm on your mind. I know we'd have a good time. I'm your friend. I'm fun and I'm fine. Hey, I ain't lying. Look at me. Shit, you ain't blind. I mean, it's just, I can't believe that, but I think it's amazing to be a part of history in that way. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I wish this
Yeah,
light was
yeah.
staying on, but it's not. You can see me better with
All
this light.
right. Yeah, yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
It won't
Cause
stay
I'm my
on.
light a little dim over here too as well. Like I told you, I'm in Africa, so I'm making it do what it do.
You in Madagascar. That is
Yeah.
wild. Oh my God.
Hmm. It's a very beautiful place, beautiful people. It's been
Wow.
real cool. Let me
Yeah.
see. Now I gotta ask you this. Now, what inspired you to become an author?
Wow. I had the idea of writing a book before I became an official author. So my first book was a children's book, and I had read a book by this author named Joseph Murphy. It was called The Power of the Subconscious Mind. I was very inspired by the book's topic, but I was confused as to how come children are not aware of this subconscious mind and how it works. How come this isn't a regular conversation about this thing that we're born with and how to tap into it? So it just kind of hit me. Why don't you write this version of this in a child's language and understanding? So I did. And that's where you have The Soil is Good. The Soil is Good. And so I published that in 2016. I had my daughter in 2014, and I just want her to have something where she understands that she was born powerful and that she has a gift that she can tap into and she can speak her reality into existence. Whatever seed that she decides to plant, whatever thought that she decides to plant, she can water it and she can walk away and not worry about it. So that's what I wanted to not just teach my daughter, but just children everywhere. And then in 2019, I wrote my second book, A Girl's Survival Guide to Womanhood, Quotes to Grow and Go. That's it. Yep. That's me on the back. Quotes to Grow and Go. And this is a chapter book of the type of quotes or affirmations that disrupt patterns that no longer serve. My mother, it's inspired by my mother because she raised me with quotes. She didn't fuss really, it was just a quote. And quotes are fast, witty, and they get to the point quickly. They get into the subconscious quickly. And then you can recall them later on in life as you start to mature and get older, as several of my mom's quotes have done for me. And so a lot of people, we walk around and we're looping and repeating thought patterns that don't serve us. And a lot of those thought patterns come from beliefs that our parents, grandparents, community put piled up onto us. And until we are first aware that this belief doesn't work for me, then you have to replace the belief with something that registers and makes sense for you, and then move forward with that new belief. But until you have the awareness, you'll constantly be repeating, looping patterns that don't work for you. And that usually ends up with a person feeling frustrated, unsuccessful, unhappy, until you get the awareness first. So this was inspired by my mother, who passed away a year ago. And so the third book I'm writing, I'm at the end of that, and I just switched my title yesterday. I think I have to look it up again because I keep forgetting it. Hold on one second, Taye. Ethan. So this book here has been very, very helpful with my grieving season. I lost both my parents last year and 4 months apart. Yes. um, so I've been sort of the past year quiet, not really showing up on camera a whole lot, unless like not talking on camera a whole lot. I've shown up on camera, but not really talking because I really have been grieving the loss of my parents and raising my daughter and still choosing to show up for my clients. But this third book is called Scars to the Soul, the Silence That Speaks. So it's about 7-year period of me journaling my mother's illness, hospital visits, doctor visits, my feelings about it. My mother also grew up in a traumatic home, a traumatic environment. So I really delve into what trauma does to the mind and the body. There's a big thing in the United States called ACEs, and ACEs is a synonym for adverse childhood experiences. And so today, a lot of doctors are doing a lot of research on children who have experienced childhood trauma and what it does to your mind and to your body. Most people will die, or most Americans will die from the 7 diseases that come from trauma, which is cancer, dementia, autoimmune diseases, depression, alcoholism, and I think it's 2 more. Suicide and 1 more. And scientifically, they're connecting that to childhood trauma that never has healed or found its exit. So in my grief, Taye, I just started writing and just taking those journal pieces that I wrote over the years. And because I always knew my mother's story, it's helped me not just have a greater understanding, but just ways that it can help someone else, because I've always felt like my mother didn't die from cancer and dementia. My mother died because her trauma never found its exit, and the consequences were cancer and dementia.
Wow, that's impactful because it's like you said, going back to the children's book, we be so young, we go through things, we physically go through things, but mentally we don't really understand. We don't have the awareness. We don't know what the problem is, but we stressed or depressed or anxiety. And then we get older and we, kind of hold on to things like say you may have an issue with your dad or something. You 30 and he do something and it take you all the way back to age 7,
Because we
but
don't have
you haven't.
tools, because
Yeah,
the tools are not in place. And to punish your parents are imperfect people. They came into parenting wounded, hurt, flawed, and imperfect. I like to believe that parents do the best they can with what they have. I absolutely know that there are parents who shouldn't be parents that exist. I am aware of that. However, to be 30, 40, 50 and up and still blaming your parents for whatever it is, it only hurts us. Physiologically, it hurts us. If we have children, they're also observing us. And I always say, if you have little children, you're not out of the woods yet. So if you treat your mom some kind of way, uh, perhaps your kid will grow up and treat you some kind of way. So it's just tools. A lot of us don't have tools, and a lot of cultures are caught up in traditions, and the traditions don't work. They don't serve. Um, I remember when I went to Senegal and we went into the slave port area. And when we finished going into like the actual dungeons, like where they took the children, where they took the women, like it was just really emotional to kind of experience what this might have been like. To look at the out of that small window in that cave, to see, to imagine people seeing their loved ones for the final time. Like, so we went in that space. So we walked out, we went around the corner, and we got to this church. And on the from the front of the church, it was this image of a white man who I think they thought was Jesus. They that's who they say is Jesus. I was extremely offended and bothered. And I expressed this to one of the guides who was younger, and he said, my generation is starting to question a lot of my parents and grandparents' beliefs, because how can we just have this slave port right here that the Portuguese infringed upon our people? And then you walk around the corner and we go to church and we praise this white image. It doesn't go together. It doesn't make sense. And so I was disturbed by it. So that's a tradition, that's a belief that has been passed on. But fortunately, there's a generation today that's now questioning it, and it doesn't feel right to them. It doesn't make sense to them, which I'm happy for. It was very uncomfortable to witness as an American.
yeah, it's heavy, man. It's real heavy because I've been to several slave dungeons. I went to they got one in Zanzibar, they got one in Senegal, Ghana. I've been about 4, 5 of them. I studied abroad in Brazil, and it's never something you really get used to. Some people actually do cry, some people pass out, and like you say, that
Really?
that generational trauma is passed down. You never
Mm.
know what they mothers went through, and a lot of times we take for granted what even our parents go through because most people don't visualize their parents as children or getting abused or going through things. You know what I'm saying?
So
They just look at what happened to them.
in the book, I actually have some solutions where, and a call to action where I have 10 questions to ask go feed your parent, take them out to eat, and here's some questions to ask. Because baby boomers come from that silent generation. Like, we see you, but we don't hear you. Like, you can't express. So now you got 67-year-olds that are used to being mute. Nobody ever asks you, who are you as a girl, boy? What were your dreams? Nobody asked them. And so let's start talking to our elders. Let's start figuring out who they were as girls, as boys. Let's start being curious about them. Perhaps we can learn something. from them. So you're right. I ask a lot of questions. And I'm glad I asked my mother a lot of questions before she passed. Um, yeah, ask questions. Be
Yeah,
curious.
definitely, definitely. I mean, because you'll learn a lot about your family, but you'll learn more about
About
yourself, and
yourself.
you'll feel empowered at the end. I believe, for most people. Now, I wanted to ask you about this. Now, you have something helping ambitious moms go from clutter. Is that how?
Clutter to clarity.
Okay, okay.
So a lot of times people get stuck because like they have fantastic ideas and goals, particularly moms. And I started working with moms because after I became a mother in 2014, as ambitious as I am, I realized that there's a season for everything. Like I was called to go into the studio when my daughter was a few months old by a very prominent music producer. And I didn't go because I was breastfeeding. It was winter. I was nurturing this new infant. And at first I kind of was like, was that a good decision? You know, he actually passed away during COVID too, 2020. But it's a season for everything. And when you become a mother, particularly mothers, for the first few years, your sole responsibility is nurturing that child, you know? And for me, I was trying to figure out how to find a balance. And what scared me, because everybody got to have something that scares them. What scared me was fast forwarded in my mind when she graduated high school. And if I spend my whole life picking up, dropping her off, focused on her this whole 17, 18 years, what's going to happen to me? What about me? And I got scared, like took my breath away. I don't want to be a shell of myself. So, what can I do? I got 24 hours like everybody else. How can I maximize this 24 hours to serve and pour into my gifts? So, I started waking up at 5 a.m. I got this book called Miracle Morning. And it was a conversation I had with another brilliant mom. And she was just as ambitious as me. And she said, well, Tori, I'm starting to wake up at 5 and I get by 8 o'clock, I have accomplished so much. And I'm energized. And she had 2 kids under 2. So I was like, it was inspiring. So I was like, if she can do it, I can do it. So I started getting up at 5, meditating, being still, journaling, drinking water. Um, yeah. And that was an incredible shift for me. Um, it was an incredible shift. So other women who knew me too in my neighborhood started to tell me, like, Tori, you're like a coach. And I was like, really? I've never seen myself as a coach. But once they told me, these were people that I respected. And once they shared that with me, I started to invest in coaching and trying to figure out what that looks like and who I can best serve and what I can offer. And I'm still in that season of figuring out my exact audience. How can I serve them? The best offers for them. But I'm aware that if you don't snap out of it, if you don't wake up and you just assume that life is just going every day, there's life, you are sadly mistaken. It can be taken at any moment. You can get ill, you can get sick, whatever. It can be taken at any moment. So, and our kids, they grow up fast. My daughter will be 10 in December. I got about a good 8 years left with her, you know? So goes by quick. What are you going to do? How are you going to maximize your gift, your brilliance, your genius? What do you do with that? Because if you do nothing, you will be resentful. You're going to be resentful and bitter and jealous of other people who made the sacrifices and made the decision. It's a decision to pour into themselves. So I come up with like goal trackers, accountability trackers, ways to measure your growth, journaling. A lot of people have wounds from their childhood. So I end up listening to that and figuring out how to replace the thoughts and beliefs and patterns that don't serve us anymore. And a lot of practices that I give to my clients, I do it myself. It's important for me to meditate. When I meditate, magic happens in my life. Absolute magic happens in my life when I meditate. So when I don't meditate, I can tell the difference. Meditating is my ability, it's the time when I get to listen to my highest self responding to my prayers. I get to get directives, you know, and I get to be obedient to the directives without questioning because I trust it. Yeah.
Wow, that's dope. That's dope. Now, for the viewers who want to, check out the books you got, or they want to connect with you, the mothers who want more advice, what's the best way for them to do that? Is it social media? Do you have
Social media,
website?
because all of my links are in the bio on Instagram. Um, I do have a website, um, torialamaze.co, torialamaze.co. But the quickest and easiest way is on Instagram, Tori underscore Alamaze. And if you hit the link in bio, I have so much there. I have free offers, and I'm going to start Taye talking more about this third book because the third book isn't finished yet, not yet. We're almost there, but I think I'm going to do some pre-orders around after Thanksgiving, and but still start talking about it, now and sharing things about it now. Um, yeah, but Instagram, Tori underscore Alamaze, you'll find all the things there. My music, and it will lead you everywhere. It'll take you down a rabbit hole. I mean, YouTube, all kinds of stuff, child, everything.
Okay, okay. Now, one more thing. Now, you said music. You got some new stuff or some recent stuff, or you working on some new stuff? What's going on with the music?
Well, I'm working on Magic Blessings and Bullshit, Volume 1 and Volume 2, which was released in 2022, which can still be considered new. Everybody hasn't heard it. So I'm kind of working on some remixes. And I'm also working in later October of doing like a back porch performance in my home of some of those songs. Again, when my mom passed, I didn't have a voice, Taye. I just had a frog in my throat. Like I couldn't speak or sing, So recently I've been singing more and happy to sing more and create more, and it will make my mom happy. So I decided to let me show myself performing and doing what I absolutely love to do. And yeah, so I think late October will be around that time.
Okay, okay, cool, cool. So yeah, I want to thank you again so much for taking the time out to come on the platform. This has definitely been inspiring and insightful, and I appreciate everything that you have contributed. Working with some of our favorite musicians, and also the work that you're doing now, working with the moms, the books. So that's really, really dope.
Thank you, Taye. You're so kind. Thank you for this invitation. Thank you for this space.